right, we promised to take you live to the US. Voting in the midterm elections is underway, and Americans are electing lawmakers to Congress, made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. These votes happen every 2 years when they fall in the middle of the presidential four-year term. They're called the midterms. These elections are often seen as a referendum on the party in power. SABC News correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease is at a polling station in Midtown Manhattan, and he joins us live now. Great to have you with us, Sherwin. What's happening where you are?
Well, welcome to where the rubber hits the road, essentially, Francis, inside a polling station here in Midtown Manhattan. And let me just give you the lay of the land. People come in at the entrance over there, they check in, they are then directed to the district where they will receive a very extensive ballot, essentially, covering congressional races, Senate races in the state, various state assembly races, the race for governor in New York State. And that, of course, is reflective of what you see across the country in different states. They will then go into a polling booth over there, as you can see, the privacy of the polling booth uninterrupted, where they can make their selections, and then they come over to these machines. These are electronic machines where that paper ballot is then deposited for tabulation once polls close at 9 p.m. local time. Yeah, and of course, time is important when we talk about elections across the 4 different time zones in continental United States. Then you have places like Hawaii and Alaska. So we're going to go very late into the night here in terms of the staggered nature of how the hours for elections run across the United States. And why are these elections important, Francis? Because it will determine which party, the Republicans or Democrats, control both the House of Representatives and the Senate. And why does that matter? Because if Republicans regain control of what is now a Democratic-controlled House, a Democratic-controlled Senate, and a White House, they will be a more powerful opposition. They will be a better check on power. They will have congressional investigative power in Congress in terms of what you see Democrats having right now. The Senate will have similar subpoena power, and that could have implications certainly on the legislative agenda of the incumbent President Joe Biden and Democrats' agenda in the last 2 terms of his 4-year term in office. So a lot at play here. You're not seeing the leader of the Republican Party, former President Donald Trump, on the ballot. You're not seeing Joe Biden on the ballot, but these 2 figures are very central to how this election is going to go come the tabulation of these results in the next 24 to 48 hours.
And I guess if it goes the way of the Republicans, it could make Joe Biden's life extremely difficult for the next 2 years. Sherwin, and what are the predictions? I mean, Elon Musk has called for a vote for Republicans across the country. How many people will listen to him? I guess the Republicans are seen to be in the lead, I guess.
Well, the latest polling says that there is enthusiasm on both sides. Both an ABC News poll and an NBC News poll over the weekend talked to how there was enthusiasm on both sides. But the issues here are really going to be determinative of what we see in terms of the results. The economy is really not in Democrats' favor, and that tends to hurt the incumbent. Inflation, the cost of living, is a huge issue. We are seeing an upsurge in crime in places like Manhattan, across the state of New York, across these United States, as a symptom really of coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Those lingering effects are still very present here. You have issues of immigration at the southern border of the United States. And then you also have Democrats pushing this narrative that democracy, Francis, is on the ballot. They point to what happened on January 6th last year. They talk about Republican leaders that are calling into question the integrity of the electoral system in the United States. That is still not a settled issue for many people, even following no credible revelations in terms of the disputes that we heard coming from the Republican Party, no less from Donald Trump, after the 2020 results were made public. So a lot certainly to play here for, and certainly a lot of attention is going to be focused on those absentee mail-in ballots, right? They are generally counted last. So what you see is the foot traffic that you see here will be the ballots that will be counted first across the United States, and then you see that the absentee ballots and those mail-in votes then being added to the tabulation. So we're in for a long haul here tonight, similar to what we saw probably in 2020, but certainly a great deal of focus on election integrity, given some of the questions that Republicans have raised in the last few months.
Yeah, and a lot of questions raised in 2020. It seems like it was just yesterday. Sherwin, we're running out of time, but a number of key Senate races are seen as toss-ups. So that means control could go either way. Which are the ones that you're watching?
Yeah, and why does the Senate matter? The Senate confirms Biden's cabinet appointments. They confirm federal judicial nominees, including if there were to be a vacancy on the United States Supreme Court. And of course, if the abortion ruling by the conservative-leaning Supreme Court earlier this year is an indication of why that is important, then certainly it is the case as to why the Senate really matters here. There's 35 races at play, and some of them are in lean Republican states and others are in lean Democratic states. So you're looking at about 7 or 8 races where it's going to be really tight. Places like Georgia, places like New Hampshire, places like North Carolina, Nevada, Ohio, even some questions about the governor's race in a place like New York due to the surge in crime. So it's going to be very difficult, based on the polling that we've seen, for us to call results, balls and strikes right now. We don't know how this is going to go. It's all about the ground game. It's all about turnout. Who's going to get the most people to the votes come the closing of polling today? That's really who's going to be the winner come results time, Francis.
Sherwin, I can throw in one more question. Is there excitement? I mean, you said a lot of the mail-in ballots still have to come in, but in South Africa, we're still talking about this incredible voter apathy. Is there a buzz? Do you feel like Americans are engaged with their democracy right now?
I'll tell you which party is more engaged. It's the party that lost the presidential election. There's a grievance. Certainly a grievance from Republicans in terms of those that believe that the election was stolen, that believe the rhetoric you're hearing from the likes of former President Donald Trump. But then there are also those people that fear, what they saw on January 6, 2021. So if you're motivated about the abortion issue in the United States, if you're motivated about democracy being on the ballot, if you're worried about inflation and issues of crime, these are real things that, that bread and butter issues that affect people, particularly economic questions, the rising cost of living. So if bad news is what drives you to the polls, then yes, there's a great deal of enthusiasm here, Francis.
All right, thank you for that update, and he'll keep following that balloting that continues. Sherwin Bryce-Pease reporting live from Midtown Manhattan, a polling station there.